I've never considered myself to be easily frightened. I had normal fears growing up. Things like heights, abandoned buildings, and, most especially, the dark. I found myself imagining deformed people, skulking in every space, filling it out no matter how big or small it was. Of course, I always knew those fears were unfounded. Then, a few months after I turned 19, I moved out of my parents' house and into an old duplex. It was the cheapest rental home I could find in my city by a wide margin, and on the day I moved in, I found out why. It seemed like everything I tried to use was broken or barely functional. Half the outlets did not work. The water ran muddy, accompanied by loud screeching sounds. By the time I finished unpacking, I already wanted to move out. However, like many other newly independent young adults, I was short on money and had no other options. I dragged my bed frame and mattress to the master bedroom. As I was leaving to retrieve the bag with my blankets and pillow, I heard a quick squeak behind me, as if someone had taken a step on the ancient floorboards. I whirled around and saw nothing, except my belongings, illuminated by the fading evening sunlight. I shook off my nerves and continued unpacking. 2 hours later, all my stuff was scattered throughout the duplex. I hooked up my TV and console and played some games for a few minutes, until the sound returned. I froze for a moment, my imagination conjuring up all sorts of horrors. Sounds like it's coming from the same spot. Just go look, so you don't have to be on edge for the next hour, I thought to myself. I followed my plan hesitantly, turning on every light along the way. I did not hear anything on the approach, but my nervousness was growing with each step. Finally, I reached the door to my bedroom. I could not see anything from where I was standing, not with how dark it was. I reached in and flipped the light switch on. The ceiling fan whirred to life, but the light stayed off. I knew there was a pull string and figured I would have to go in. Come on, it's just an empty room. Stop freaking out. I took a few steps in. It was closer. I exclaimed, overcome by terror, as the sounds of the creaking floorboards quickly drew nearer, and an oversized figure began emerging out of the shadow. As I ran, I turned to the side, reaching for the doorknob. The thing behind me was much closer then, its massive hand extended out to me, its head cocked awkwardly to the side. Its eyes were black pits, its mouth an open chasm. I slammed the door shut, then bolted out of the duplex, not slowing until I had gone more than a mile to the nearest convenience store. It took a while, but I managed to calm down enough to ask the cashier to use their phone. He was suspicious of me at first, but when I said I was calling my parents, he allowed it. I went home, and over the course of the next few days came up with a convincing story to tell my mom and dad. A burglar. That's what it was, not some messed up shadow monster. I figured they would believe that more easily. And that was all that mattered. If they believed me, I could convince them I was too shaken up to go back. Otherwise, if they tried to have me return, I would have to find a nice bridge to sleep under because there was absolutely no way I would ever return to that place.